Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Week 2 is in the books. It's over. 15 weeks to go.
We on that grind, baby.
We on that grind, baby. If you are on a, if your fantasy championships week 16, as it should be, then you only have 14 weeks left in fantasy football. How about that?
Wow.
And if you're
as quickly as it started, as quickly as it'll end.
If you're madly in love with DFS or best ball, you probably got 17 weeks or 15 now. So
that's why I'm a redraft guy.
A redraft. Today we got a lot to get to. Waiver wire ads, streaming options. We're going to have some quick reactions for the week. Let's get started with the news first. Before we do that, be sure to do the following. Check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Like us on Twitter at the FFChamps. Like us on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. I think I'm getting better.
Holy cow.
I think I'm getting better at that. Subscribe wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, wherever you want to, wherever you're listening, subscribe here. Click any bells for notifications and leave a review. He's like
I'm in shock. It was like I was
shrinking the time of the intro is key.
By talking at the speed of light.
Yeah. Did you guys get any of that? Let's get to the news first. I wanted to start off by talking about Antonio Brown.
Okay.
So last week, I can't remember when we talked last about Antonio Brown. It's getting a little...
Yeah, everything changes every day. So.
I think it was at the end of our Wednesday show or our Tuesday show, whichever one. We found out that Antonio Brown was accused of sexual assault. He has, what's the word I'm looking for? He's denied it. Denied wasn't the word, but I was looking for an adjective to make it sound better. He denied it. He said he didn't do it. I expected the NFL to drop a levy of a suspension or at least put him on the exempt list until the investigation.
On the exempt list too.
So I guess if it was a criminal case, they would have said, yeah, we're going to put you on the exempt list. It wouldn't have been a question. It would have been like immediate. Mm-hmm. But because this is not a criminal case. This is just a lawsuit where a person's just trying to get some money. So basically they looked at that, and because it's not criminal, they were like, that's not the precedent usually for an exempt list. So they said, we're going to hold off on it. And they're interviewing the person who claimed it, I think it was Monday. So we'll find out what the NFL chooses to do as time goes along. But I guess there was a second sexual misconduct allegation, and the incident reported apparently happened in 2017. So keep an eye on AB. He did have a good Sunday, but I don't know. I don't know how much longer he's going to play.
We'll see.
Sam Darnold, he's going to be out on Monday Night Football. He has mono and could be facing 3 to 7 week absence. That's a long time for...
Yeah, so the Jets season is already over as quickly as it started.
Trevor Siemian is now your starting quarterback, New York. Fox Sports' Jay Glazer reports that Kenyon Drake is on the trade block. This was on Sunday morning.
I feel like he's been on the trade block since July.
Yeah, I do too. You know what I also noticed? I'm mad because I've watched far too many Dolphins games this year, and
you shouldn't have watched. And I feel bad.
I'm every Sunday I'm tweeting about how pissed I am about the Dolphins.
You're gonna put yourself in hell watching the Dolphins.
Stop. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, the diest of diehard Dolphins fans
don't even
gonna watch
as much as I've watched them the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it amazes me and astounds me how little they use Kenyon Drake at the beginning of the game, and then realize, oh Lord, Kalen Ballage is not doing what we thought he was gonna do. And then they put Kenyon Drake in the game.
It is weird how much they use Ballage more than...
It's clear that they're moving on. They want to go Ballage's way But if you wanted to do that, why did you not just trade Kenyon Drake in the offseason?
They're probably trying. But
we're a fantasy football podcast, but I'm literally angry about like just legit NFL basic common sense. Yeah, it's because I drafted him. He was one of my. Did I actually take that back? I don't remember I took it back.
You did take it back.
I did take it back, but I said he was going to be an RB1. I think in the right situation, he's talented enough to be an RB1, but this is not a good situation anymore. So he's on the trade block. Teams that could be interested. I think Houston might still be interested in running backs, considering they're not bad, but it's like they went fully committee, and some of the guys aren't working out. So
yeah,
we'll see. And then the place that I don't think they'll do this, but Tampa maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. But I feel like if a team's trying to add Kenyon Drake, the problem with Kenyon Drake in the situation that he's in right now, I don't think any team's going to trade for him and want him to be like the guy. Like they'd want him to be a second back for whoever their guy is, which for him is unfair because he's too talented for that. But
I honestly think it's going to come down to like one of these big running backs is going to get hurt, and somebody's going to have to swoop in and.
But if that's the case, wouldn't you do that when they call the Chargers at that point?
The Chargers have had Austin Eckler go off for 2 weeks.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If their player got hurt,
and I think they're also interested in like developing Justin Jackson, in case.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The inevitable happens.
If another running back around the league gets hurt, like let's say,
like if Eckler got hurt.
No, like if like let's just say, Alvin Kamara tore his ACL.
Okay.
Wouldn't the Saints first call the Chargers and ask about Melvin Gordon before they call the Dolphins and ask about Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, probably.
So that's just what I'm saying.
I just don't think. I think the price. Like you can't really.
But we don't know what the Dolphins are asking.
Really, it's not really the Dolphins. Price. I'm saying I'm not talking about Kenyon Drake's price. I'm saying that they'll call up the Chargers and say, "What do you guys want for Melvin?" And then they're going to say 2 first-round picks, and you got to pay him $100 million. You know what I mean? Kenyon Drake is the option right now. And there's also guys on, like if you wanted a Kenyon Drake like player, you could just go get Jay Ajayi in free agency.
That's true. So you're saying his situation is not good.
So he's stuck on the Dolphins, and his talent is worthless there. James Conner exited week 2 against the Seahawks with a knee injury. He was questionable to return in that game. He ended up not returning, and they say that his knee injury is not serious. So he's fine.
Poor Steelers.
The teammates said that he was fine, but I'm not sure they're qualified doctors.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong.
Good enough physicians to make that decision.
I hope they're right.
Yeah, I hope they're right.
Because I have James Conner on my fantasy team. But
Michael Gallup, surprisingly, I didn't even see. I watched the entire Cowboys game. Didn't see an injury at all for Michael Gallup, but he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a knee injury. He had to get knee surgery. They said they had to trim his meniscus. Not sure what that means.
Oh.
Deshaun Jackson, you know what? I had multiple teams facing Deshaun Jackson, and I'm very happy that he did not play. He exited week 2.
Karma's going to come back and bite you, though.
That's true. He exited week 2 against the Falcons with a groin injury, so he did not play the rest of that game. And
I didn't watch.
I think he's fine. That's what they're saying.
When did he come out of the game?
I don't remember because I didn't initially watch the first 20. I didn't watch the first 20 minutes of the game, and then I turned it on, and I was like, oh God, now I got to watch Deshaun Jackson light it up. And then I turned it on, and I was like, oh, where's Deshaun Jackson? I saw one clip on the sidelines, and then I checked through Twitter, and he was out. So,
yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey also exited that game with a calf injury, and they also had Carson Wentz leave the game with what they thought might be a rib injury, and then he went back in. So we got to see their backup quarterback Josh McCown play for 6 plays. And then they had a multitude of injuries. I think Dallas Goedert got injured in that game as well. So LaShawn McCoy suffered an ankle injury in Sunday's Week 2 victory over the Raiders. So if he does miss time, Darwin Thompson finally may get some opportunity. I think this benefits Damian Williams more, even though Damian Williams has looked like an absolute trash bag. If you read you're only thinking about his air yards, but he's had 22 rushes for 34 yards.
No, I know. And what did I tell you though before the season started?
He's not.
It's not about running for him. It's about being another receiver.
He still hasn't been good. He got 7 fantasy points this week, and like
was it 7 fantasy points?
12 to 15.
No, he hasn't been that good. But
he's not.
I mean, if he does do good, it's not going to be with running.
Like I said, like the reason why I had him as a bust before the season started was not because I didn't think he couldn't finish as an RB2 at somewhere in that range. It was because there was no way that he was going to be able to have the same success he had on the ground as he did the year before. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that caps his potential. Like Tariq Cohen the year before, he's not great on the ground, but he's a great receiver. Yeah. And what was he? He was I think he was the RB13 last year and have PPR. So right. I think that Damian Williams can have that RB2 upside, but I think at that, like you're not going to get the rushing. This is why they brought in McCoy, and it's clear that McCoy is that guy. If McCoy's out, do they go to Damian Williams on the ground more? Because they have no rushing attack at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
No rushing attack. Drew Brees is slated to miss 6 weeks with a torn ligament. We will talk about that in a second. That is disappointing. Ben Roethlisberger, they tried and tried and tried. Did you see the play that he got hurt on?
No.
He threw it. No one hit him. No one touched him, and his arm just kind of like.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. It was just like it kind of like I saw his like arm shake, and then he like grabbed it, and yeah, he had to get season-ending elbow surgery. And so that's not ideal.
No.
For the Steelers. Pat Shurmur declined to name. This is interesting. Pat Shurmur declined to name Eli Manning as the Giants starter in Week 3.
Uh-oh.
Here we go, Daniel Jones.
Uh-oh.
Get your Daniel Jones shares now before he throws 5 touchdowns.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Devin Singletary suffered a hamstring. He might miss time. It's very vague as to what's going on with that. It is a little bit disappointing because if you have Devin Singletary like myself, it's hamstring injuries. As soon as a running back gets a hamstring injury, it lingers throughout the rest of the season.
You know what else lingers?
What?
Frank Gore.
What else lingers? The rookie killer. Oh, just retire.
Slayer. He had a very nice run though.
He did. He had.
Did you see the goal line
3-yard run?
Yeah, but he trucked the dude for the. That's what he does, bro.
It's because it's old school football.
That's why coaches love him.
He's literally going to have like 25 carries this week for like 60 yards, and he's going to score 2 touchdowns. That's what's going to happen. You know it. That's all we got for the news. We're going to get into some quick reactions from the week. I did want to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Because we all going into this week initially thought that Sammy Watkins was going to be...
Including myself.
The guy. Including yourself. And now, I told you last week, I was like,
yes.
I would not be surprised if he busted. And I almost said he's going to bust, but I didn't. Because that's what Sammy Watkins does. He just completely craps his pants. And so what happened was Sammy Watkins got targeted 13 times. Don't even know how many fantasy points he had, but it wasn't good. And Demarcus Robinson, the third-string wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, friggin' went off in this game.
Yep.
This just shows you that it doesn't matter who, like, if Tyreek Hill goes down, then somebody else is going to rise up. And whatever matchup is better for Mahomes, he's going to throw it to the better matchup. You can't say Sammy Watkins is going to have a great week. You can't say...
So are you saying Patrick Mahomes is
how many people,
good that he doesn't need his great talent around him, which isn't what you've been saying the last year?
I mean, if you do get rid of Travis Kelce and some of those offensive linemen...
Well, sure, if you play with 8 guys on the field, I guess you could be bad.
I'm saying if he didn't have the amount of... That's what I noticed, too, in that game, is that Mahomes has... The reason why people get so wide open is because he sits there in the pocket for 5, 6, 7 seconds.
But that was also due to the Raiders too, David.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have a pass rush. But like when you get in Mahomes' head and he can create. We know that. He does crazy things with his feet. But when you put pressure on him, he struggles. The Patriots proved that in the AFC Championship game until like the fourth quarter. Yeah. But like if that offensive line loses any of its pieces, I think Mahomes will obviously take a hit. But he's on pace for 56 touchdowns this year to start the season. So that's better than the 82 he was on pace for last year. Regression. All right, regression. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Here's what I would advise you to do. Demarcus Robinson is not a bad pickup this week because we will talk about waiver wire later in the show. He's not a bad pickup this week, but I'm going to say don't pick him up, and that'll be a tease for later in the show when we talk about Demarcus Robinson. Right. So I just wanted to note that the Chiefs situation kind of blows my mind that it doesn't really matter. You're not. It's like the Patriots running backs. You can't predict who's going to go off in any given week.
I know. So
go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up the Rams-Saints game. This is just so sad for anybody that owns.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, borderline even Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
9 points was a big letdown. A lot of people thought it was going to be high scoring, and now Drew Brees is out 6 weeks. That is such a big blow. But we haven't been high on Drew Brees that much anyway this year, so if you've been listening to us, you probably don't have him on your team.
If you listen to our advice, you shouldn't have drafted Drew Brees.
Or if you did, it was a backup.
You know what?
To Lamar Jackson or something.
What's getting kind of mixed up in this entire Drew Brees being hurt situation is that Drew Brees is in his 40s.
I know. That's why.
This could be it.
I don't think it could be it.
No, I mean this could be his last season. And the fact that he's missing 6 games of it is
right.
I'm not saying that his career's over. He's gonna play in 6-7 weeks, but he's gonna miss significant time.
Mm-hmm.
And any hopes that the Saints have in making the playoffs and having a run all get thrown on Teddy Bridgewater at this point. They gotta win. They gotta go
they have a good roster.
They gotta go 3-3 in the next couple weeks and hope they live that. And then
I don't know.
But
that's gonna be tough.
Can I tell you why you shouldn't panic about Michael Thomas?
Okay.
So I was thinking about it today. In Michael Thomas, I was initially you think, oh crap, Teddy Bridgewater blows. He doesn't suck. He's okay, but
he did take the Vikings to the playoffs.
Yeah, he does. He's not bad.
He's
I think Sunday he was not good. He was really bad. The concern is that in a offense that isn't as efficient as it would be with Drew Brees, that you're not going to get in the red zone and you're not going to have a lot of scoring opportunities. And so what the wide receivers need, scoring opportunities. So I think for me, I more specifically was worried about him getting the opportunity to score touchdowns in the red zone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The reason why you shouldn't panic on him is because he's going to deliver. He's going to get targeted 10 to 13 times a game like he always is.
Yeah.
He's going to deliver you a 12 if he catches 8 balls, right? He's going to deliver you a 13 to 15 point performance, right? And if he catches 2 touchdowns over the next 6 weeks, he's still a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
So if you have him on your team, don't panic and sell him.
What about standard though? Does it go down?
In standard, it goes down a little bit, but I just think it's worth saying, okay, let's hold on to Michael Thomas. Let's ride out this 6 weeks, and then when Drew Brees gets back,
oh no, I agree,
we'll be fine. Don't sit here and go, oh my God, I got to get rid of Michael Thomas and find somebody. No, just live through the storm. Fantasy football is not about panicking and overreacting. Fantasy football is about making the proper decisions for your fantasy. If somebody walks up to you and gives you the mother of all deals for Mike Thomas, then do it.
Right.
But otherwise, just don't panic.
Yeah.
Don't go out and sell him for a crappy running back because you think he's not going to be good this year. He does take a value hit, but the value hit is not as
huge. Right.
So that's what I'll say about him.
No,
I think this does affect Kamara. Big time effect. I think
really
obviously
I think it affects him a little bit. But
same situation, but Kamara is if you look at his numbers, he's not he's a great running back. He's good on the ground, and we know that.
Yeah.
But he's
really good in the air.
He's really good through the air, and a lot of his fantasy value is through that. And I don't know, a rookie, young quarterbacks, and Bridgewater's not a rookie quarterback, but young quarterbacks like to dump it off to running back, so that's a plus. But I think the opportunity that Alvin Kamara is going to have in the red zone is also going to be affected over the next 6 weeks. So
yeah, no, I agree with that too.
Same value decrease for those two, but over the next 6 weeks, I think Michael Thomas, low end wide receiver 1, and I think Alvin Kamara is.
It might start off
RB
bad
too,
because first
he's
of all,
it'll start off abysmal. Don't pick him up. Don't draft.
They have to get obviously Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I know he's been the backup for a while, but he hasn't played, so he has to get into the system, and they have to all work together for a few weeks. And during those 2 weeks, they're going to be in Seattle in week 3.
That's not awful.
No, but for a quarterback
in
that
Seattle,
hasn't started a football game, and how long has it been for Teddy Bridgewater?
3 years, 4 years.
And he's going in Seattle in the loudest stadium in the NFL.
Tough. That's a tough one.
And then his next week it's home against Dallas, which Dallas isn't pretty underrated defense.
Very, very good defense.
Right. So those are going to be too tough.
It should be. He's going to go through the crucible, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I do think that if you had to choose one of Alvin Kamara and Mike Thomas to take a value hit, which one would it be? Like the biggest value hit, or the biggest production hit? I should say.
I'd actually say Thomas, but
I would say Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
Just because I think that Alvin Kamara is not. Like, Mike Thomas is the wide receiver. He's going to be targeted the most in that offense, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Alvin Kamara will take that hit. Like, go look up his numbers, like right now, and I think he had last year like 900 something rushing yards.
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
It's not like.
But you would expect.
It's not like they're going to go to the running game and then Kamara is going to dominate on the ground he might, but
my thought process is they might.
He gets his fantasy production through the air. Why do you think the Saints continually hold on to guys like Latavius Murray or Mark Ingram in the past?
Because they like committee backfields.
They like committee. But they always had the guy
I
could grind it out on the ground.
Right. And a goal line threat type thing,
Not that Alvin Kamara is not good on the ground, but because he can put up, I think he can put up 1,400 yards if he wants to, but it's just a matter of how they utilize their offense, and I just don't think that, like, Kamara needs the air game in order to open up his fantasy options. Low end RB1 for the next 6 weeks is kind of where I think he's at.
Okay.
He's not the top 3 running back that you drafted for the next couple weeks. Just don't go into games expecting him to be there.
Yeah, he's still an RB1, though.
Oh, he's still an RB1. I would say 15 to 17 points a week. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, with an occasional 20 plus.
Is there anything else on the Saints that you wanted to discuss?
I was just quickly, Todd Gurley, still Todd Gurley. We're going to, week by week, we're going to see how this plays out, and he's gonna sit at like low, like half PPR. I think he had 14 points this week.
Okay.
And week 1 he had 10 fantasy. Like he's gonna sit around like the 10 to 15 range.
Okay, here's what's gonna happen. Gurley is going to be insanely annoying.
Right. That's the key. He's gonna be the key word there. He's gonna be very annoying for fantasy owners.
He's gonna be an RB1, low end, 9, 10, 11, 12. One of those 4 options. He's going to be there. I didn't expect them to take him out of the red zone as much as they have. He did get a touchdown in the red zone.
Yes.
But what I noticed they're doing, and Sean McVay's an idiot. He's not an idiot. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. But I don't understand why he's doing this. He'll give Todd Gurley a full drive, and then he'll give Malcolm Brown a full drive, and then he'll give Todd Gurley a full drive, and then he'll give Malcolm Brown a full drive. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, you can
running back by committee, bro.
Split it back and forth between them. But like the game before that, Gurley got every carry in between the 20s, and then after that, it was Malcolm Brown inside the 20-yard line. Like, for some reason, that's what it was last week. Gurley did get a red zone carry, so that was good. But Gurley succeeded at such a high level in the last 2 seasons because he scored 20 plus touchdowns.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do that, he's not going to be that. I thought they were going to take him off the field in the middle,
and he'd still get the touchdowns.
In between the 20s, and he would still get the touchdowns, and his production would still be there to be, a top 6 back, which is where I had him ranked. But if they keep doing this, it's it's going to be an annoying season. He's still a guy that you should start.
He's still like really valuable.
Yeah, he's still an RB1, but you're because he's going to run. He's so efficient that he's going to run for 100 yards. He had 14 carries 2 weeks ago and still had 100 yards.
Yeah, but this week he had 16 carries for 63 yards.
Was he playing again?
Played against the Saints.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So
don't panic on Gurley. I still think he's.
I'm not panicking.
He's going to be an RB1.
Even if he plays like this the whole year,
an RB1.
He's a good RB2 if he plays like this all year. Or but
yeah, I think it's game script too. But anyway,
do you think that'll change though? Because I don't.
What the fact that how they utilize Gurley?
Yeah,
I think at some point Malcolm Brown.
Maybe the red zone thing, but
I think Malcolm Brown will be exposed a little bit. He's a good complement to Gurley. I think, when you watch the games, if you're thinking just in a football sense, he is a good complement to Gurley and how they utilize both guys.
No, I know. Like that's why I don't think they'll change.
It works, but at the same time, I think that somebody's gonna pull Malcolm Brown's pants down in like a big game, and like they'll face the Bears, and Gurley will be clearly the more efficient back. And they'll be like, oh, all right. I actually think Gurley's probably... I'm not going to make any predictions. My love of Gurley is too strong.
Yeah,
I was going to say, he did drop week 1. He had 70% snap share. Last week, he had about 63 to 65, I believe, somewhere around that. So he did drop a little bit. Gurley did in snap share. So keep an eye on that. He should be all right. It is going to be annoying. I thought about it. I'm like, should I trade for Gurley in a couple leagues? No, I don't want to be a part of that. It's like owning Melvin Gordon right now. It's like, do you want to be a part of that? The Steelers lost Big Ben for the entire year. This is why, I guess this will be our last note from the week in our quick reaction segment. Our reactions aren't very quick, though.
No.
So, obviously, with Big Ben out, this affects a lot of the offense. James Conner is hurt. So I don't like. I'm not sure. I'm not sure long, we need. Yeah, not for long. But I'm not like. Okay, let's assume James Conner is healthy this week.
Okay.
Does this hurt or help James Conner?
I don't think it necessarily helps him, but I wouldn't really say it hurts him either. Honestly, I really don't think he changes that much because he might not get the same red zone looks, right? And he might but I think so. It's so tough because I don't think he'll get the same red zone looks, but I think he'll probably get a few more carries.
Yeah,
you're kind of looking at me like he disagrees.
I'm just saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just James Conner has not been good in the last 2 weeks.
Well, he didn't
without. He
played
Big
in the
Ben.
first half this week.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he was better this week.
And then
better.
Week 1, they scored 3 points. So.
Yeah, if you're a James Conner owner, I wouldn't be super concerned. But his efficiency isn't there like it was last year.
It hasn't been to start the season.
And I do think that has something to do with not having Brown there.
I mean, it's affected their whole offense.
It's a complete. That's a complete different. Yeah.
Side note. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this does affect James Conner. But I'm saying, like, do you think he's going to get more carries, or do you?
I think he will get more carries. I do. I know you said earlier in the show.
This is assuming he's not hurt.
Yeah.
The fact that he has some.
I think Jaylen Samuels will get more carries. Like, I think they'll just run the ball more. Yeah,
Samuels,
because the Steelers do throw the ball.
I agree
a lot with Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
But with he's not a rookie quarterback, but it's his second year in the league.
Right.
First career NFL start, especially this week. I think they will run the ball a lot to Conner and Jaylen Samuels. So I do think it'll help him in that way. But you're right. Like, the total offense is not going to do that well. So that could affect Conner in the negative way. So that's why I'm kind of saying he's not really changing.
For running backs and wide receivers, it is so, like, and this is where the Giants astounded me last year, where you could still have, like, Odell, who missed a bunch of games and produced at wide receiver 1 pace in terms of averages per game last year on the Giants. And then you had Saquon Barkley, who was like the number, but that offense sucked. It was bad.
Yeah.
Usually offenses, like, and this is something that just a generic fantasy football player who has like one fantasy football league will, like, they don't think in this mindset. Like, when I first started playing fantasy football like 10, 15 years ago, I was like thinking in this mindset of, oh, well, this guy's might be good on this team because he gets this amount of opportunity. It's not always like that. If the team itself blows, then the player is not going to produce at the same level. Like, if you don't have, the red zone opportunities that you would normally get on a team that's more efficient offensively, then you're not going to have a guy that produces.
There's very few players in the league that,
like, if you go through like you said, very few players, but if you go through like the top 10 guys, almost every single one of them are in some form of an efficient and good offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Top 10 wide receivers, top 10 running backs. Go through them all.
And even if they're in like
there's
Christian
some exceptions
McCaffrey,
to the rule.
For example, who's on the Panthers, not really great offense, but when they have big games, he will produce. And like this past week on Thursday Night Football,
bad game.
Yeah, they had a terrible game offensively, and so did McCaffrey. Like, having a good offense does matter.
Yeah, it does matter. So I think losing Big Ben does affect James Conner in that context. I think it also affects Juju. And today I was trying really hard to want Juju to continue to succeed. And to me, okay, here's what I'll say. Next week, if Mason Rudolph goes out and throws 3 picks and 1 touchdown, panic. You can full on panic, sell your Juju shares, freak out, like whatever. I don't care. Juju is not somebody you should panic on yet. I think, yes, he's going to see a decrease in production. I moved him from, I wanted him to be a top 5 wide receiver. I moved him from top 4 in my rest of season rankings down to 8 or 9 right now. So I still think he's going to end as a wide receiver 1 this year just because he is the guy. With James Conner gone too, he's like, besides McDonald, he is the guy in this offense. Yeah. He's going to get targeted 8 to 10 times a game. He'll get his 150 to 160 targets like he always does this year. And it depends on how well the offense plays, how good the offense is. If Mason Rudolph goes out and he's ripping the field apart and he's throwing 3 touchdowns a game, like if he's playing like Big Ben, then Juju's going to be a wide receiver 1, maybe top 5 this year. But if he plays like a young quarterback that's learning, then you're obviously going to see Juju hit the decrease. Yeah, watching. But I don't want to make that judgment until after I see Mason Rudolph play a full game.
No, I do think that's a fair point to kind of see how Mason Rudolph is and if he's a good quarterback or not. And not even that, just if the offense is still okay,
right,
without Roethlisberger subbing in with Mason Rudolph, because we just don't know. I mean,
we have no idea.
Yeah, he's a young quarterback. It's his first ever start.
It's 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 200-something yards. He looked pretty good in the game.
Yeah, he looked okay. So
he kept them in it against Seattle.
Right.
Kept it close.
So I agree with you that if you have Juju, do not trade him for like 2 bench players and a piece of gum right now. So I would just
bag of chips.
Yeah, I would hold on.
Maybe a soda.
Well,
$3 in waiver wire budget.
If you include the soda, it depends what kind. But I would just hold off on trading Juju right now. Like, relax. Let's see Mason Rudolph play.
Yeah, and
then take it from there and go week to week with Juju.
No, it's true. I have a question for you though.
Okay.
Do you think, like, should you trade right now? Should you buy low if you're not a Juju owner? Should you buy low on Juju right now?
I would say yes, but depends how low that is.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like if somebody is doing the opposite of what we're saying right now, and is panicking on Juju, and is like, "Oh, Ben Roethlisberger's out, Mason Rudolph's in. I've never seen him play. Cut Juju right now."
Put him on the waiver wire.
Then of course, I mean, I'd buy him. But if somebody's a little more cautious and still use Juju as you do, which is a low end WR1,
right.
I don't know. It really depends on who owns Juju and what that situation is. But I would say typically, yes, I would.
Yeah, I think for me, it just, like you said, it does depend on value. And I am in constant negotiations with one of our league mates about Juju because, I need to own him. But you have to temper things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for me, I have to temper my excitement on Juju now because it's like I really want him to be a top 5 wide receiver. But now I know, he's probably not going to be that. He'll be a top 12 or like wide receiver 1. I don't think there's a world where he's not that.
Unless Rudolph's really, really, really bad.
Yeah, unless Rudolph blows and they need to go trade for quarterback. But for me, it's like I don't know what the price is. That's what I'm having a hard time with.
Because I don't think Juju owners know what the price would be.
Right, and so if they're panicking and they're full bore like, holy crap, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Take advantage of it. Go get Juju. Like, if he's not asking for a lot, then just offer. Like, if he offers a deal and you're like, wow, that's good, take it. Like, it's not. I mean, unless it's outlandish and you're giving up a lot, but
right. You got to know where to draw the line.
I've been trying to figure out what that value is on him.
It's a low end WR1, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where you would land.
Like around that, 10 for receivers. So if you're offering like the 15th. Or like a low end WR2 and a low end, or like a high end RB3 for Juju.
Yeah,
like that's a deal you would want to take.
Right.
But if you're giving up another low end WR1 and a low end RB2 for Juju, like obviously you don't want to. You got to know where the line is drawn.
Yeah. I did want to do this really fast on Juju.
Okay.
So I wanted to throw out some names to see if you would take them over Juju Smith-Schuster, and I'll start
for the rest of the season.
For rest of the season, I'll start at 15 and go down. So Diggs over Juju?
No.
Godwin over Juju?
No.
Woods over Juju?
No.
Cooks over Juju?
No.
Brown over Juju?
No.
Thielen over Juju?
No.
I've been spelling Thielen so wrong my entire life. Amari Cooper over Juju?
That's close.
Mike Evans over Juju?
Mike Evans.
Keenan Allen over Juju?
Keenan Allen.
Thomas. Beckham. Yeah, so on and so forth.
I would probably...
So where you kind of have him as like 8 or 9 with me. I put Cooper above Juju Smith-Schuster because of the way Dak is playing and how efficient Amari Cooper has been. He's not booming and busting right now. He's giving you 18 and 19 fantasy points a week.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Amari. We'll see how long it lasts. Yeah, but don't panic on your Juju shares. We'll let you know next week. We'll give you an update.
Yes.
On your Juju shares, whether you should say see you later or continue to hold on to them. Let's move into our waiver wire additions part of the show. We're going to give you some streamers for quarterbacks. We're going to talk about pickups at the tight end position, pickups at the running back position, pickups at the wide receiver position. We'll go through them all. So let's get started with that. So obviously last week, this was actually one of my favorite players last week that got caught in the noise. And I think I talked about him a little bit. I don't know how to say his name properly, so bear with me and don't freak out people if I say it wrong. But I really liked last week Terry McLaurin.
Yes.
And I talked about how much I liked him, and I was trying to figure out a way to get McLaurin on my team, but there was no one I wanted to drop. So I was like, yeah, I just left him on there, and now I'm mad at myself. But McLaurin, I wanted to see one more week of to just see if he could produce at the level that I wanted him to. You know, he had 7 targets, 5 receptions. Last week, could he do that again? I think this week he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, I believe. And so he caught a touchdown. He had like 60 to 70 yards. He had a very good week this week, and that's what you're going to need from a guy. All of the rookie wide receivers succeeding right now in the NFL is kind of like
weird.
It's messing me up.
He had 9 targets for 5 receptions, 62 yards.
Yeah, so he got more target share in that offense. The reason why I like McLaurin is because the guys that we talked about, Jamison Crowder is the number 2 wide receiver in New York.
Yeah.
John Ross is the number 2 wide receiver in Cincinnati. Marquise Brown, arguably the second target on the team behind Mark Andrews, right?
Yes.
So it's like all those guys are behind somebody. McLaurin is literally the second target the first target on that team.
And like the thing with Washington too, like before the year, that was the team I was like, don't draft anyone from Washington. But
it's like, they're all garbage.
Here's the thing.
Keenum's playing out of his mind.
Case Keenum is not, he's kind of one of those, another generic quarterback where he's not good with a bad team. But if you give a good team around him, or at least a team that kind of knows what they're doing, he can be okay. And the Redskins, despite not being that great of a team, they at least, unlike the Dolphins, like they know what they're doing. Like they're gonna lose games, but they're not gonna get killed in the games.
No.
Thing.
Like
so Case Keenum can play okay,
and
because of that, Terry McLaurin is the only wide receiver on that team, right?
There's a
Vernon Davis,
guys,
maybe like Jordan Reed if he's out there is an option.
They have another guy.
They do have another
Quinn.
Who's solid too. But like Terry McLaurin's gonna be the guy.
Terry McLaurin.
So. It is a good waiver wire pickup, especially because he probably wasn't picked up last week because everybody was like, I don't know. But yeah, I would pick him up this week. Although don't expect a big week out of him against Chicago.
I think I was even like when I was telling people last week about Marquise Brown and John Ross. I was like, John Ross maybe a start. Marquise Hollywood Brown, do not start him. And he did decent this week. So
yeah, he wasn't great,
but we're on the waiver wire segment. We shouldn't talk about old waiver wire edition. But McLaurin is, would you say he's probably the number 1 pickup this week?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Demarcus Robinson. I teased it earlier in the show. I like Demarcus Robinson. I first heard his name last year, looked up some film on him from college and what small amount you had in the game in the preseason and in a regular season. And he is pretty good. He's fast. He's a good route runner. He's not a terrible wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you not to buy him. And you're going to have a instant temptation to go out and spend an absurd amount of money on Demarcus Robinson. on your waiver wire, and you're going to put the number one waiver priority on him, you're going to say, I'm going to put $30, $40. Do not do that. We saw what happened last week with Sammy Watkins, people. Watkins went out, had a great week. People spent a lot of money on him, and now Demarcus Robinson becomes the one. They're going to spend a lot of money on him. What's going to happen next week? Byron Pringle is going to get the fifth wide receiver. I'm like, this is what I would do. How much would you spend on Robinson right now?
Not a lot. Like,
I was gonna say $5.
Yeah, no, like I was gonna say max 10. So yeah, but like, I wouldn't want to spend 10. I'd say like 5.
Willing to do a flyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how long Tyreek, because if Tyreek Hill misses significant amount of time, maybe it's worse than everyone anticipates, and he misses maybe a few extra weeks. Then
he's owned in 3.5% of leagues, so very available.
So he's available in your league for the most part.
Terry McLaurin is owned in 44.5% of leagues, so he's owned a little bit more. Your league may not have him available.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Robinson is concerned, I just don't think it's worth putting a large price on him, just because if you do, and you know what I mean. I'm not about the situation where you're wasting your budget on anyone. I'm not really I overspent on Dak Prescott last week, so there's that. But I think I'm not it's not a problem to overspend on a guy if you really like him. But understanding the situation and understanding that at some point Tyreek Hill is going to come back. Sammy Watkins is their number one wide receiver. Travis Kelce is still there and exists, and Damian Williams is a really big target in the offense. The reality of Demarcus Robinson becoming a player is not high. Now the guy that I would go after is Mecole Hardman.
Okay.
He's owned in 37% of leagues. So if he's available in your league, I would put some form of a claim on it, probably $12 to $14 is where I would. The only reason why is because I think he's worth, if you have depth at the wide receiver position, I would take him as a flyer in case, because to me in that game, there was flashes of him clearly being probably the number 3 on the team. I think he's better than Demarcus Robinson. Even though Robinson had a really good game and had a much better game than Hardman. Hardman basically had a touchdown catch in the game. I don't remember how many fantasy points he had, but he had a touchdown catch in the game. Mm-hmm. And then he had a second touchdown catch in the second quarter that got called back because of holding. Oh. So he would have had 2 touchdown catches in the game, probably for over 150 yards. So he would have outscored Robinson at that point. So I'm kind of sitting here thinking I would put money on Hardman because I think he's the third best. They drafted him this year in the 5th or 6th round, and he is the guy that was supposed to replace the speed of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
He's that guy. If there's any person that you if you had to choose between those two guys right now, who would you choose?
I'd probably go Hardman too. He's just faster.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the Chiefs' offense,
absurd.
In the Chiefs' offense and the way they like to play football, it's all about speed.
Yep.
So, I mean, I honestly though I wouldn't pick up either of those guys.
Yeah, no, it would work.
I probably wouldn't.
Long term,
those guys.
You probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I personally,
Hardman
in my 3 leagues, in my 3 or 4 leagues right now.
If you're desperate though, yeah.
If you're desperate, go get him. But I am not going after. I'm not a huge fan of rookie wide receivers. Mm-hmm. So I'm not but I think it's worth a flyer for Hardman. I would pay for him a little bit more than Robinson if you need wide receivers, but at this point, I'm not even sure.
Do you know who I have ahead of both those guys if he's available in your league?
Who?
DJ Chark.
Interesting.
The receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's because it's Gardner Minshew show, baby. Well, because
the swagger of Gardner Minshew is just too much for you to handle.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so he's the number one, similar to Terry McLaurin. He is the number 1 receiver on Jacksonville. I think D.D. Westbrook has not been up to par at what kind of fantasy owners have been expecting.
Yep.
Or hoping rather than expecting. And if you watch, I know you did watch a lot of that game. You noticed
I tried. It's painful.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson blew.
DJ Chark was the go-to target for Gardner Minshew.
Right.
When Minshew...
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm surprised it wasn't.
Yeah, it was even in third down situations or it was third and longs, he was looking for Chark. He's a guy who he had 9 targets, 7 catches.
Wow.
That's pretty solid.
That's a good game.
The week before that, he had 146 yards and touchdown too. He's had touchdowns in 2 straight weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying to go get DJ Chark.
Spend all the money in the world. Money.
But out of the options that are out there in most leagues,
yeah,
DJ Chark would be high on my board if you're going to look for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually disagree with that at all. I just think, for me personally, at this point, like, he's like the Terry McLaurin of last week. I need one more week. And he didn't have a bad game. I mean, and
people forget, Nick Foles, like, unless Minshew is just, like, the greatest quarterback of all time, Nick Foles is going to come back this season. Or he's expected to come back this season. So when he comes back, I mean, that could be a good thing for DJ Chark too. So.
Right. I think, the 9 targets that he had in the game is very promising. I don't like the efficiency that he had, though, because he only had like 7.9 yards per reception. So that was a little. That's true,
but in week 1 it was a complete opposite because he had 4 catches and 150 yards.
Right. So I don't disagree with that. I would take another week and just wait on DJ Chark because he could be a guy that. I actually think if you had to choose, one thing that I like to do is find one guy that everyone's not blowing their budget on, and try to make a bid. Like, slap a $1, $2, $3 bid on a guy that no one else is probably going to bid on, and just try to snag him. You know what I mean? And that's DJ Chark for me. Deebo Samuel's in that same conversation. Maybe Geronimo Allison, but I mean at that point it's just like I don't know. I don't know if I would add. Like your roster is probably filled with the guys right now. Like I wouldn't go and do we have breaking news?
Kind of. Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah, but I was like, what are you trying to do right now?
Jacksonville Jaguars star cornerback Jalen Ramsey has requested a trade.
That does not surprise me. He got into a massive fight.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with fantasy, by the way, but
no. Well, I mean, if you're Jacksonville Jaguars defense, which is the second highest owned defense in fantasy football,
that's true.
So
that's true.
So it does have slight relevance to fantasy, very slight.
Interesting.
But yeah, he has requested a trade. No,
he got into a fight with Doug Marrone on Sunday, and I saw that live. I was like, what the crap? Yeah, he's a little bit of a punk.
Yeah,
he came to training camp this year with the Brinks truck. He came out of a Brinks truck, and I was like, you clown. Maybe that was somebody else. I think it was Jalen Ramsey, though.
No.
Great
As a Patriot fan. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not even going to say anything else. As a Patriot fan.
Yeah.
I'll just end the
do it now. He's like going to call him now. Interesting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Some other guys. This says Golden Tate is not owned in 41% of leagues. It's about that time. Hitting week 3. He's going to come back from his suspension soon. Golden Tate would be especially if Daniel Jones comes in and plays
If Daniel Jones comes in and plays good, then yes,
Golden Tate.
But until then, I'm not like
ride the train.
Going on.
Let's talk about some running backs. Jaylen Samuels is probably my number 1 running back out of the week, but very close is Raheem Mostert. He went off. Now I do want to note on Raheem Mostert because a lot of people are going to be like, holy crap, this guy's amazing, and waste everything on him. And what I noticed in that game was that it was very committee.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched when I watched that game back, Mostert was really efficient. Breida was very efficient. Even Jeff Wilson Jr. was very efficient. Mm-hmm. All 3 of their backs worked, and they worked well. This is the Shanahan system. Like, this is what works.
Yeah.
Like, running backs work in his system. And I think that as much as you want to, like, blow everything for Mostert, like, I think he could be good this year.
There's so many running backs on that team, though, where it's like...
Now, do you want, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, but do you want to hear the basic snap share?
Okay, yeah.
Raheem Mostert led it at 46%. And I think Breida had 38%.
Now what happens when Tevin Coleman comes back next week?
Completely irrelevant. That's kind of where I'm nervous about Mostert is like you can add him as a flyer, but he's not like, I know this week we're going to get pickups for Mostert, and then people are going to start asking Joe Mixon or Raheem Mostert. Like, don't ask me that question.
The way Joe Mixon's been playing.
Yeah, it's like the way Joe Mixon's been playing. I don't remember how long the Tevin Coleman injury was going to last, though. So there's that. But I would take Jaylen Samuels over him, just because of the fact that Jaylen Samuels is probably going to get an increased workload with James Conner in there. The fact that he had a knee injury that they're not fully concerned about, but the fact that he had a knee injury in the game is, to me, as a fantasy owner, ignore what the team says. That's concerning.
Yeah.
Knee injuries are always concerning.
Right.
So it's like whether he plays or not is irrelevant to me. That might linger. And if it does, Jaylen Samuels becomes the number one back in Pittsburgh, and they like to utilize their running backs.
Yep.
So there's that.
I wouldn't pick up Jaylen Samuels, but I wouldn't.
But why? What's the purpose? He's been getting an increased workload.
You know what? Actually, I would, but I wouldn't. I would pick up Jaylen Samuels, but I wouldn't go out of my way for it.
No, I agree with that. There's not a lot of running backs.
No. I'd rather one of those wide receivers like DJ Chark or Terry McLaurin.
If the complete shift, if Devin Singletary is missing time with that hamstring, Frank Gore.
He actually becomes if he misses even 1 week.
If I wish this had happened during the bye weeks, but if you need a running back like desperately to start
for a week.
And
Singletary misses time.
Yeah, and Singletary misses time. I would go out and get Frank Gore. Don't expect high-end efficiency and like things to blow up. But I think 60 to 80 yards and a touchdown are in the cards if he gets the full workload. He's going to get 3 yards a carry. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
I love you, Frank Gore, but no. So he might be a good ad if you desperately need a running back start. Who do they play next week? I don't remember.
I had it. I was just
looking at it. You clown.
Wow.
You're supposed to know these things off the top of your head.
I'm sorry.
Like instantly. Yeah, but I would definitely grab Frank Gore.
They play the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. If Devin Singletary misses time,
through 2
go
weeks,
get Gore.
Ranked number 32 against the run.
That's pretty bad.
It's only been 2 weeks, but
some other guys, the possibility of picking up. Justice Hill actually got a lesser snap count this week.
Thought?
He got 30% last week. This week he had like 20. So he's a deep stash if you have a deeper league. But other than that, he's owned in 19% of leagues, and I don't think that's going to increase at all. Let's talk about some tight ends really fast. Will Dissly.
I made the mistake of saying he might not be a terrible option in week 1, and then
Will Dissly?
Yeah, in like a very deep
week 2.
league.
You mean?
No, week 1.
Oh, flip.
And he didn't do that good in week 1.
He's owned in 2.7% of leagues.
And then week 2 happened.
And then he goes off. What do you have? 21 fantasy points?
I think so.
He is not going. Now, initially, there was another tight end, and I can't remember who it was in Seattle last year, who kept on having really nice games, but he was like not a tight end. He was more like an offensive lineman than anything else. Will Dissly, they drafted to be a receiving tight end, but he's not going to be anything.
In week 1, he had 2 targets and 1 catch.
Yeah, no, he's not going to be anything.
And then week 2, he gets 5 targets, but he had 5 catches, 2 touchdowns.
At this point in the game, I am not reaching for tight ends at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless Mark Andrews is still available in your league.
I don't think he's going to be. Jason Witten might be available.
Yeah,
he could be a good option. He has two straight weeks with a touchdown. They give it to him in the red zone. And the Cowboys have been in the red zone a lot, dude. Jason Witten is such a gross pickup, but if you need a good performance for a tight end, he'll get you your touchdown.
In a very deep league, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about like teams who just completely OJ Howard owners who have 0 points from him this week and don't have any options on the waiver wire.
Hey, your boy Eric Ebron got a touchdown this week.
Gross. Tyler Eifert is also another guy that you might be able to pick up, but he's I don't even know the metrics on that. So that's what we got for waiver wire ads. Mm-hmm. Do you have anyone else that you have a burning desire to discuss before?
No, I think we kind of the waiver wire is already. Week 1 was the hot week. Week 2,
it's already bleak.
It's already getting bleak.
So let's talk about our QB streamers. You got a QB streamer for us?
I have a few.
Oh boy.
You know I'm the QB whisperer.
Yas. So I'll just give you one. Okay. You give me one, and then we'll conclude the show. So my QB streamer of the week, because I get to go first and steal yours, whichever one it is. I'll actually give you the guy that you initially wanted. I'm going to say Jimmy G, who had a good week this week against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's the defense has been looking clownish lately.
Yes.
And I think that against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, you could actually get a good game from him. He has a lot of upside. What did he have? A 21-point game this week?
He had, I think he had more than that actually.
Right now, it's surprising because
he had 25 points
early in the season. This is what always happens. It's hard to stream quarterbacks early in the season because people stow. They stick guys on their bench. The Aaron Rodgers owner is sweating because he had 2 bad weeks in a row. And they're like, oh, crap, what am I supposed to do with this? And then so they stash quarterbacks in your league. Probably, if you're a 1-quarterback league, you probably got 20 quarterbacks that are off the board, and that leaves you with 10 starting quarterbacks or 12 starting quarterbacks. So not a lot of options available. I think Jimmy G is a great option for you to go with. No one really wants him. He's owned in 26.5% of leagues. And he's a great streaming option. And I don't think anybody's going to put any waiver budget on him unless they're insane. So who's your guy?
Jimmy Garoppolo is a solid one. Of course, week 1 I was all over him. He stunk. And then week 2 I was like, I don't know. And then
Every time you do this.
Yeah. So for my guy this week was a guy I hit on last week.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep riding that train until it dies. It's Josh Allen. So this week, Josh Allen is playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, which I mentioned
he's owned in 35% of leagues. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's still there's a chance he's owned in your league, but there's also a greater than 50% chance he's not owned in your league.
Yeah.
So if he's not owned in your league, he's up against the Bengals this week that again have the worst run defense. They gave up 41 points last week to the 49ers and let Garoppolo get 25 fantasy points. They're not a good defense at all.
No.
Josh Allen is coming off a week where he had 23 fantasy points against the Giants. I think to me he's in line to do that again. I think he's going to get 20 to 25 fantasy points. And if you need a starting quarterback, pick up Josh Allen. He will get you points.
There you go. Jimmy. I also would, as a little flyer note, Matt Stafford has had a pretty good start to the season. He's facing the Philadelphia Eagles defense last 2 weeks. They've had Dak Prescott tear them up, and last week they had Matt Ryan, I believe.
Yes.
And Matt Ryan didn't have a terrible day either. So Stafford might be a good ad against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. That does it for our waiver wire ads and streaming options. Be sure to listen tomorrow as we discuss our booms and busts from week 2 and go over players you should buy and sell. And maybe we'll get into some matchups before Thursday Night Football is back. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFChamps.